Hundreds of years of honor, blood, and absolute loyalty. This is not just battle, this is the life of the samurai. Before Miyamoto Musashi became the greatest samurai in history, he was just a child, carrying a heavy legacy on his shoulders. Born in 1584, in a small village surrounded by mountains and rivers, his destiny was never meant to be ordinary. But his childhood was nothing like the others, trained not as a son, but as a warrior. His father, Munisai, was relentless, harsh, merciless. From an early age, Musashi knew one thing: to survive, he had to become stronger than anyone else. Miyamoto Musashi was not just born into a family of warriors, he was born into an era of chaos. Late 16th century Japan, a time of endless war, shifting alliances, and brutal survival. For the Japanese, honor and loyalty were everything. To live was to fight, and to fight was to serve. It was a time when the samurai were more than warriors. They were the soul of Japan. But for Musashi, this world meant one thing: he could never afford to be weak. He was raised in a time when only the strong had the right to exist, and the weak were forgotten. Miyamoto Musashi was never meant to have an easy life. His father, Munisai, was a master of the sword, a warrior feared and respected. But before Musashi could truly understand the weight of his father's teachings, he was gone. Some say he died in war. Others believe he simply abandoned his son. Whichever the truth may be, one thing was certain: Musashi was alone. In a world ruled by the sword, he had no father to guide him, no master to protect him. He had only himself and the will to survive. With no master to guide him, no father to train him, Musashi had only one teacher: pain. Day after day, he pushed himself beyond his limits. The world showed no mercy, so he would show none in return. He trained alone, wielding a wooden sword against trees, stones, and shadows, until his hands bled, until his body ached, until the pain became a part of him. Every strike was a lesson. Every wound was a reminder. Weakness was not an option. And then, at just 13 years old, fate brought him his first battle. In 1596, a skilled samurai named Iruma Kihei traveled across Japan, challenging young warriors to duels, believing none could stand against him. But one boy did. A nameless child, barely a teenager, yet carrying a fire in his eyes that even seasoned warriors lacked. Musashi accepted the challenge. The samurai laughed. This was no fight, it was an execution. But in a single moment, the laughter stopped. Musashi, armed with only a wooden sword, struck first. He struck hard, and when the dust settled, the samurai lay broken on the ground. At just 13, Miyamoto Musashi had taken his first life, and with it, he had taken his first step toward legend. Musashi was not like the other samurai. He did not follow the traditional rules of combat. He did not fight for honor, nor for the code of Bushido. He fought to win. While other samurai practiced strict forms and rituals, Musashi studied the chaos of battle. He saw that real combat was not about beauty, it was about survival. But what truly made Musashi a legend was his ability to fight with two swords at once. While other warriors mastered a single blade, Musashi saw the power of using both hands. He developed the Niten Ichi-Ryu, the two heavens as one style. A style where attack and defense became one, where one sword controlled the fight and the other ended it. It was fast, it was brutal, and in the hands of Musashi, it was unstoppable. Unlike most samurai, Musashi was a ronin, a masterless warrior. He owed loyalty to no one, but that also meant no one provided for him. To survive, he had to rely on his own skills, not just in battle, but in life. His duels were not just about honor, they were his livelihood. Victories brought rewards, gifts, and sometimes even gold. As his legend grew, warriors and lords sought his knowledge. Some paid him to train their men, others simply wanted to learn from the greatest swordsman alive. After decades of battles, duels, and a life lived by the sword, even the greatest warrior must one day lay down his blade. Musashi, undefeated in over 60 duels, had nothing left to prove. His name was legend, his style immortal. But a warrior's body cannot fight forever. The years of war had taken their toll. Sensing his time was near, Musashi withdrew to a cave, Reigendo, not to escape the world, but to leave something behind. Here, in the silent embrace of stone and shadow, he wrote his final work, the Book of Five Rings, a masterpiece of strategy, philosophy, and the way of the sword. It was not just a book of combat, it was a reflection of his life, his victories, his losses, his understanding of the world. And then, on June 13, 1645, Miyamoto Musashi, the greatest swordsman to ever walk Japan, closed his eyes for the last time. He did not die in battle, nor by the blade of an enemy. He died as he had lived, by his own will, in his own way. But legends do not die. His teachings live on, his name echoes through time. To this day, warriors, strategists, and dreamers still look to his words, still follow his path. Because Musashi was never just a swordsman, he was an idea, and ideas are eternal. This is just the beginning. More untold legends await. Hit like and subscribe to join the journey.